Come on in YouTube, getting ready to start my show called Jimmy Rants. So thanks for being here today. And we originate over on Instagram. Somebody again chided me the other day on Facebook here. You're never looking at the camera. You don't look at us when you talk. You need to look right at the camera. And I'm like, how long have I been doing this? Like 15 plus years? I think I know what I'm doing. And so the show starts over on Instagram. So when I'm talking to the main show, this is the camera I look into. So if it looks like I'm ignoring you, I'm not. You guys are basically just a simulcast of the main show here on Instagram. But people have a cow. They're like, you gotta look at us in the camera. You're not very professional. Yeah, bite me. I have done this a little while. I know what I'm doing. So hello, Norma. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Robin. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the YouTubers that are watching right now. Come on in, you guys. We're getting ready to start my show called Jimmy Rants. And it's the Friday edition. Hey, says Chicken Parm 152. Thanks for being here today on YouTube Live. Hello, Shirley. Thank you for being here as well. What's up, Hank and Kira? Debbie says, look at me, look at me. Hi, Debbie. But today is Ask Me Anything. So get your questions ready. This is the day that people are always asking. I don't eat chicken Parmesan anymore unless it's the carnivore kind. You can make chicken parm carnivore. So I guess traditionally, does chicken Parmesan come with what, noodles or something? But you can just eat the chicken and the Parmesan, and that's very carnivore. So today is Ask Me Anything. So literally, whatever questions you have, I have some expertise in a lot of different areas in keto and cholesterol, fasting, podcasting, book writing, and I got some really good questions that came in over here on my Instagram stories. I always throw up on the Thursday before I go live. I always put up the question, what questions you want me to answer. And so I got 3 like really good questions that I thought, oh man, this is great for Ask Me Anything. So get your questions ready. What's up, Tara? What's up, Denise? What's up, Kira? Thank you all for being here today as well. We're T-minus about a minute or so before we start my show called Jimmy Rants over on Instagram Live. We do simulcast it here on Facebook. We also simulcast it over on my YouTube channel. Been listening to your podcast for a long time, have never seen your live before. Well, welcome. It was right at, I think, about 2 weeks ago here on YouTube Live that I decided to start doing YouTube Live. Usually I do the replay of the Instagram feed and throw that up on YouTube, but because I was having trouble with my second Facebook page, the Facebook, I'm trying to be kind about how I describe them, but the criminals that have locked me out of my page on Living La Vida Low Carb, I decided, okay, well, if I can't air it on there, then let me go live on YouTube. So here we are. So thanks for watching, and I'm glad after all these years you've heard my voice. You see how wonderfully handsome I am. Charming at that. I'm just kidding. Hello. Okay, you guys ready? Got a great show. I did this yesterday when I was starting my show, and I flubbed all my words. I'm like, I've literally never done that on a live show before, but I guess there is a first for everything. Tracy says you make my workday more enjoyable, so thank you. All right, well, let's get this show on the road, and here we go. Come on in, Instagram. Today is Ask Me Anything. Literally, any question you want to ask, pop on that little box down there in the lower corner, and you get to join in on the fun with Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, if you want to engage live in the content, you really need to go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage in the content just like Victoria and Heiser Hines and so many other people coming in right now here live on Jimmy Rants. There's Sharon and Mega, so many people. Thank you for being here today, you guys. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here today as well. What's up, Adam? And thank you to Facebook Live for watching the live feed there as well. The whole Jimmy Rants family, we are all here and we always have a good time. If you missed the live here on Instagram, go watch the replay on IGTV. We also put it up over on jimmyrants.com as well as on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants and you will find the show. So guys, it is Friday, and if you are a fan of Jimmy Rants, you know what Friday means. Friday is literally an open forum floor for you to ask me anything that you want. So I can talk about literally anything within the realm of keto and cholesterol and fasting, podcasting, book writing, being famous online, how you deal with haters, literally anything you want to ask about and ask about me. Sometimes there's some funny personal questions people have for me, so bring it on. I got a few really good ones in the story that I put out last night. Several, like 3 different really good questions I can't wait to get to here in just a moment. So get your questions all ready, start writing them down there, and I'll get to them in due course. So as I always like to do to start off Ask Me Anything is I got a few items of interest here that are quick little bites. And you might have heard that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, has put out some guidelines for reopening the schools. And so they come up with this little infographic, as they always do. And I thought this would be of interest to you with the COVID-19 concerns out there. The CDC thinks these are the things you need to do with your kids when they go back to school this fall. Any kid over the age of 2 should be wearing a mask while they're in school. No sharing of any supplies whatsoever. The desks will be 6 feet apart, facing the same way. This is the funny one here. Distance on school buses, 1 child per seat, and skip rows. They're going to have to really ramp up the number of school buses if they do that, or do multiple routes. Like you get picked up at 7:30, but then this group gets picked up at 8:45. It's going to be really interesting how they do that. You can only walk one way in the halls, and there will be tape on the sidewalks and walls to assure you stay 6 feet apart. We're already seeing that social conditioning of this concept in grocery stores and places they're putting the tape all over the ground. There will be no shared spaces like cafeterias and playgrounds. There will be physical barriers or screens between the sinks and the bathrooms. Prepackaged boxes or bags of food instead of cafeteria food. How about let the parents actually give them a healthy lunch to bring to school? That's what I used to do when I grew up. No field trips or other activities. Same children, stay with the same staff all day. There's no switching teachers. Stagger arrival and departure time for students to limit exposure. Daily health and temperature checks of your kids. And then several rules about cleaning and disinfecting throughout the day. So that's what the CDC wants to happen. I wonder how many parents are going to push back on this. And I get it. Some people are like hyper, oh my gosh, we should do whatever we have to do. And then there's other people that say, well, wait a minute. Kids are not dying of COVID-19. So why are we going through all of this rigmarole? Now, I know the argument, the kids can bring it home and to the grandparents and blah, blah, blah. I know all those arguments, but it's going to be really fascinating to see how parents respond, because you know local school districts are going to point to this and say, okay, parents, this is your duty. You got to help us out. So that's going to be fascinating to watch as we get back to some semblance of normal with schooling starting in the fall. So the next story, meat industry is panning a climate change teaching resource recommending that we cut meat and dairy. So I've been telling you on Jimmy Rants in recent episodes that there is a decidedly anti-meat vegan propaganda agenda being pushed really hard right now. And so in New Zealand, there is a brand new resource that they are teaching in public schools there. It's called Climate Change, Prepare Today, Live Well Tomorrow. It's from the Ministry of Education, and it's aimed at level 4 teachers who teach kids between the ages of 7 and 10. And the suggested activities include talking more about global warming, reducing electricity use, and driving and flying less. And one of the things that they put in there was, in 2 different paragraphs, red meat and dairy production is the direct result of, or is directly resulting in more greenhouse gas emissions than chicken, fruit, vegetables, and cereals combined. Students could take action by cutting down on their red meat consumption and eating more fruits and vegetables instead. They also should embrace a meatless Monday. And we know here in America, they've been trying to push that meatless Monday crap on public school students in various school districts. But this is alarming. They're teaching now, I would say, propagandizing and indoctrinating 7 to 10-year-olds about veganism, all under the guise of climate change. So don't think that this is the end of this discussion. They don't talk about any of the good things that happen with red meat. And there's lots of good things, as you've heard me say many times over, but I thought you'd be interested in hearing about that story. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, speaking of meat-free, you know how all these plant-based burgers, they've been trying to hype up, well, we have meat shortages, but we have all these plant-based burgers for you, waiting on you to buy us. Well, guess what's happening? They're not being bought. The coronavirus lockdown has impacted the sales of meat-free products. This is in the UK, by the way. And so they took a look at what people were actually buying in Great Britain, and they found that over the 4-week period when the lockdown kind of was at its worst there, 12.5% of British households had bought the meat-free category. That was down from 13.8% just 1 year ago. At the same time, household penetration of red meat rose to 71.1%, which was up from 67% a year ago. So as much as we want to say, you know what, it sucks that they're pushing these plant-based burgers and they're really trying to indoctrinate, guys, I think real rational thinking people are going, okay, no. We're not eating that fake crap. We know it's fake crap, and we're going to stick to meat. Now, the only problem is availability of meat. I know my local Sam's Club had been out of red meat for a little while. They just got back some in. I've been eating some ribeye steaks this week. It's been glorious. But this kind of trend to push people to plant-based burgers, it ain't working. And people are wising up to that. So when we think all hope is lost, hopefully that gives you a little bit of encouragement that maybe it's not as lost as we thought it was. And then finally, I've been telling you about this whole contact tracing, which if you've done the latest iOS update on your iPhone, they now have in the new update the contact tracing software. So be sure when you update your iPhone that you go in to your privacy setting and you click on health. And then once you're in health, there is an opt-in and opt-out for COVID-19 contact tracing. You do not have to participate in that. Just opt out. When I updated this phone today, it actually did not default to opt-in. I was waiting to see, is it going to default me to opt-in, or is it going to let me voluntarily choose to opt in or opt out? And it was automatically on default opted out. But just go and double check just to make sure. They're supposed to ask you before they just sign you up. So speaking of contact tracing, Purdue University is one of the first ones that's launching a course in becoming one of these contact tracers. So obviously they're going to start using this contact tracing technology. They're going to have, and I talked about this the other day with that HR 6666, remember that the other day, where they're setting up these little mobile contact tracing units. So they're going to be these little trucks all in your town that are going to be contact tracers, and they're going to be like looking for people participating in the contact tracing and to then take action when needed, as we talked about in that bill the other day. And so they're trying to see how it's contracted and transmitted and the spread, and to make sure there's protocols in place, legal requirements, that's the big one there as well. Trying to effectively communicate any risks that are involved and then analyze for improvements. So it started, you guys. By the way, this contact tracing course will be $300, $295. and they're going to waive it for any individuals who enroll right now, purdueglobal.edu, if you're interested. But it looks like they're trying to get a whole bunch of people to start being these snitches, I mean contact tracers, to track people with this COVID-19. They think contact tracing is the answer to getting us back to some semblance of normality. And I'm skeptical, as you can hear in my voice. So we shall see. Okay, let's get to the business at hand. It is Ask Me Anything. Literally, whatever you want to ask, you guys, please fire away. I do want to get to these 3 excellent questions that came in on my Instagram story. So let's hop right to those. Oh, and I got a few more since then as well. So, all right, so somebody wanted to know, what's the deal with glucagon? So I call glucagon the unwanted stepchild in the hormone world. Because when you start talking about hormones, especially within the regulation of blood sugar and your health, you almost invariably go to insulin, right? So insulin is that master hormone that whenever your blood sugar starts to rise, you have this insulin that is supposed to respond in such a way that it can bring your blood sugar back down again. It's a part of the body's natural regulation of your blood sugar. What nobody talks about is there's a yin and yang process between insulin, and the yang is glucagon. So glucagon, when your blood sugar starts to get too low, it actually helps to raise your blood sugar back up again. Again, it's trying to keep some semblance of a normality when it comes to your blood sugar. Well, here's the thing. People always talk about insulin resistance. We might even talk about leptin resistance. I don't want to talk about leptin today, but insulin resistance, leptin resistance, those are the things that actually get talked about quite a bit. But there's actually such a thing as glucagon resistance as well, which means those of you who experience some kind of a reactive hypoglycemia or a hypoglycemic episode, it means your glucagon is not performing the way it's supposed to. So what the deal is with glucagon is, if you've messed up your hormones to the level that your body is not responding well with insulin, don't be surprised if you too also have a problem with glucagon. And we don't talk about glucagon near enough because most of the time people are eating carbohydrates and other things to raise their blood sugar, and insulin's the one that's having to work hard. But you flip it down and you see that hypoglycemia starts to kick in quite often, glucagon becomes a real issue. And so obviously eating keto or eating a real food-based diet or doing all the things that would manage your blood sugar in general and your insulin levels in general would also help your glucagon. So the deal is, we need to know glucagon's there. We need to know that if you're seeing hypoglycemia, it could be because you're also experiencing, on top of insulin resistance, glucagon resistance as well. So I hope that answers your question. And let's get to this next one. This was a funny one to me. How did the egg fast come about? I'm always amazed at how fast it will break a stall. Would it surprise you to know that Jimmy Moore was the one that created that? So it was circa 2009. My brother Kevin had died in 2008. It was October 2008. He died. And I quickly started gaining weight. Not because I was eating anything bad per se. It's just I think the grieving process took a toll on my body. And I started gaining weight pretty rapidly, like 10, 20 pounds within a few months. And I was like, whoa, 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 we got to do something about this. So in 2009, I said, I wonder, and I was just low carb Atkins at that time. I had not even really been in the ketogenic yet. I said, I wonder what would happen if all I ate for 30 days in a row was just eggs cooked in butter, maybe a little bit of cheese. And that's all I eat the whole day. So what I was testing, unbeknownst to me at the time, was the veracity of being in ketosis, the veracity of kind of doing more of a carnivore-ish type of diet. And I decided to do this. And in that 30-day period, and I documented it all on YouTube and on my blog, and I shared all of my blood sugar results, my weight loss. I think I lost 24 pounds in the 30 days. And so I came up with that protocol. And what was funny was I just did it as like a little experiment. It was like one of my first N=1 experiments. Hey, let me just eat eggs for 30 days. Well, I put it out there on my blog, and lo and behold, somewhere around 2015, 16, I started seeing massive, I mean, massive traffic to my blog for that post that I wrote. And I'm going, what in the world is going on? So I start tracing back, and I see that on social media and on forums and on other people's blogs, oh, we're doing Jimmy Moore's Egg Fast. Oh, we're doing Jimmy Moore's Egg Fast. I'm like, wait a minute. That thing I did as an experiment in 2009 now is a thing. It got to the point where I got contacted by Women's World magazine. They're like, so we've been told that you're the originator of the egg fast diet. I was like, I'm sorry, the what? Like they said it's become this huge thing that we want to do a story on it. We want to know how it came about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I should have wrote a book about the egg fast. But it was just cook eggs and butter with cheese, so I didn't know that you needed to have a book about that. But yes, that's how it came about. I experimented with it in 2009 as a way to lose weight. And it did put on my radar screen some of the benefits that then I would later find out when I started testing nutritional ketosis in 2012, 2013. And so that was my first taste of what ketosis, not just low carb, but ketosis felt like. And I felt really good. And I remember at the time going, wow, the simplicity of it, just eating eggs. Now, some people hated it because it was so monolithic and blah, blah, blah. And now I know about you don't really want to eat the same food over and over because of food sensitivity issues and things like that. But it put on my radar screen this whole concept of stripping away everything except for just the basic necessities, which was fat and protein, eliminating carbs, eliminating all these maybe treat things that might be in your diet. Kind of, like I said, putting carnivore on my radar screen for the first time without knowing that's what it was. So pretty interesting history, huh? Alrighty. This was a good question. Is publishing a PDF cookbook on Amazon worthwhile, or are hard copies the better route? Well, you qualified it by calling it a cookbook. I think there's a lot of people who enjoy having an open-faced cookbook in the kitchen. Now, some people love their iPad. I use an iPad here to do my Facebook feed on Jimmy Rants, but so some people love that, and they got a little section in their kitchen where they put their iPad and all is good. But other people, and I'm one of those people, love to have a cookbook open on the counter. You put some almond flour on it and drop a little egg juice on it. You know, some of it's just like that. So I think a cookbook is different than just a normal book. I don't write a lot of cookbooks. I've only got 2 or 3. Most of my books are kind of translatable science type of books. And those, I think, would be a good idea to do in ebook only if I chose to do that. So that your question is publishing a PDF cookbook on Amazon worthwhile? Yeah, I think you'll sell some. I think you'll be able to get it out there. But don't neglect that there will be people who will want a paper version of it as well. But in general, I think that's a great idea if you want to try to get it and maybe test the market of, okay, how much interest would there be in a book by me? An ebook takes away some of the expense that would be involved in printing a paper book and shipping and blah, 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 and all that stuff. The PDF is pretty easy. You just make the PDF, and if you use Amazon's thing there with a Kindle, they can actually, take care of all this, dealing with the transaction for you. So give it a go. See how it goes. All right. I have a family member who wants to start keto. She has about 30 pounds to lose. What are the calories and macros for starting? I don't know. It's not about calories. It's not about macronutrients. See, this is something I'm going to harp on this till the day I die. We get so caught up in the stupid stuff that doesn't matter. We do. We think it's about restricting calories down to 1,200. We need a macronutrient ratio of 65 and 30, and you just get so bogged down into diet mode again. And I don't know about you guys, but when you embrace keto as a lifestyle, diet mode went out the window. And if we keep living our lives like we're in diet mode, we will never break the cycle of dieting. It's just going to stay a part of our culture. But if we start saying, I want to lose 30 pounds, but better than that, I want to be healthy, then I'm going to eat real food that nourishes me and gives me plenty of satiety. We all have different needs for the macronutrients, so figure out what you want to accomplish. Do you want to accomplish like quick weight loss? Okay, if that's your goal, number one, I would shift that goal from quick weight loss to getting healthy, and through getting healthy, losing weight. This is where we've made the mistake in our culture. So fat and protein are the basis of a good ketogenic diet, so always focus on those. I would say a fatty protein is like the basis of any meal that you do in keto. And then from there, if you want to add some vegetables that are of the non-starchy kind, that's great. If you can tolerate a few more carbs, then you can add in some fruits, the low sugar fruits like berries. And that's what you do. I think we try to overcomplicate this and think, well, we have to cut calories, we have to count our macros and make it fit within our macros. And I just think it just keeps you in this constant state of stress over trying to figure out what's right. So tell them, eat real food, eat to satiety, don't worry about the calories, keep the fat and protein elevated and minimal on the carbohydrates, and eliminate the junk food, eliminate even the snack products. You do those things and you get in good stress management skills, you get in good sleep, you start taking a walk and doing some resistance training, exercise. All of those things combined over time should help you lose weight. All right, there's one more and then we'll come to you guys. Do you think we should do some shorter fasts to get ready for June 1st? So yes, starting June 1st, you guys, I am going to be leading right here on Jimmy Rants. I am leading a 7-day fast. So those of you who've been asking me to lead a corporate fast, I did this a few times last year. People really loved it, said it was the first time they ever did a long fast. And so I want to offer that support for you. I've been holding off because COVID-19 stress. I didn't think it was a good idea to be asking people to go without eating for a period of time while we're all stressed. But I think now we're kind of settled into, okay, we know what's kind of going on. Some of the places are opening back up again. So the stress is not as high as it once was. So let's give it a go. June the 1st, so it'll be a week from this coming up Monday. So the question is, should we do shorter fast to get ready? If you're not already intermittent fasting as a natural part of your ketogenic diet, don't try a 7-day fast yet. I think you get keto adapted and you're that way for a few weeks, then you automatically should start intermittent fasting, eating about 1 to 2 meals a day within a window of maybe 6 to 8 hours. You should already be doing that of your keto. And then you probably should have pushed yourself to go at least a day or 2, maybe 3 before you start a 7-day fast. Although I was surprised the last time I did this, some people said the longest they fasted was like 16 hours. And when we did the 7-day fast corporately, I guess it was the support that I offered, they were able to go the whole 7 days. I was like, whoa, you went from an intermittent fast to a 7-day fast in one swell foop. And I thought that was pretty impressive. So no, you don't have to do any smaller fasts before we get to the official 7-day fast, but definitely be keto adapted unless you like pain. So. All right, so that's all the pre-questions that we had. Now we're going to come to your questions. So we're going to go to Instagram first, then we'll pop over to Facebook, and then finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants, jimmyrants.com. All right, let's see what you got here. Victoria wants to know, what are the effects of branched chain amino acids while you're keto? I know some people love them and they think they help them in the gym. I say if it works for you and you enjoy them, Victoria, by all means, keep using them. Keep an eye on blood sugar, keep an eye on ketosis, just all the regular markers that you would check. And as with anything, it's all individualized. There's some people that take BCAAs and it's no big deal. Other people take them and they go, whoa, that didn't work for me. So if they work for you, great. Keep a close eye on all those markers that matter. What are your thoughts on keto ice cream? Sharon wants to know. I don't think you love it, but it really is good when you're dying for something sweet and the rest of your family is eating Ben and Jerry's. No. I've said on here before, I love the Rebel ice cream. So I've got some of the out in my deep freezer on the front porch out there, and I love it. The only caution with some of these keto ice creams is the sugar sweeteners that are in it, the sugar substitutes. They can cause some gastric distress in some people, so that would be the only thing. Also, know your triggers. If you know eating a little something sweet is going to trigger you to eat a whole lot of something sweet, you probably should stay off of that until you get that trigger to die down a bit. I don't think you have to avoid it altogether forever, but just know if something triggers you, you need to be aware of it and not allow those things to creep back into your diet. Now, you can also make your own keto ice cream. I've written a few cookbooks. The ketogenic cookbook has an excellent keto ice cream recipe in there. Maria Emmerich developed that one. So no, I'm not opposed to keto ice cream if it's used for the purposes that you're talking about, just to have a little something sweet every once in a while, so you're not tempted to have Ben and Jerry's, for example. Mega Journey wants to know, have you heard of Virta Health? I'm curious if you have. Of course. Virta Health was created by some low-carb ketogenic researchers, Dr. Steve Phinney. In fact, that is Dr. Phinney back there on the wall. I did a speaking tour in Australia a few years back, and he is one of the preeminent low-carb ketogenic researchers in the entire world. I was very honored to be on a Q&A panel with him, people asking panelists. It was so funny in that picture. I was in Australia, I think it was Brisbane, Australia, and people were peppering the panel with questions. Every single question was for Steve. And I get it because, you know, you want to pick this man's brain. But I was like, okay, are we just like window dressing up here? We have some knowledge too, but Steve, and Steve is a wonderful man, knows a whole lot about ketosis, probably knows more in his little pinky finger about ketosis than all the rest of the keto community combined. He's just brilliant. And so, yes, he was one of the co-founders of this Virta Health, along with Dr. Jeff Volek, another one of the preeminent researchers in this realm. Dr. Sarah Hallberg was another, and they've been doing some studies, you guys. They are literally working on a 5-year study about nutritional ketosis and its effects on metabolic health, especially for type 2 diabetics and the obese. So they're right at about the 2.5 year mark in the study, and they've already put out some of the results at the 1-year mark, and they might have done 18-month mark, but they've done a few studies that they've released. So stay tuned. Yes, by 2023, we're probably going to see the full 5-year study. This would be the longest study to date of a ketogenic diet. And what they're trying to show is you don't get worse. We do have great evidence for a ketogenic diet, for diabetes, for obesity. I'm hoping that when that study from Virta comes out right around 2023, we're going to see huge headlines. Now, you guys know from listening to me on Jimmy Rants, they're going to do all they can in the media to ostracize it and, oh, it's highly biased and da-da-da. But we know they won't be able to refute a lot of the things because they put in really good methodology in this study. So yes, I'm quite aware of Virta Health. You know, I kind of hang out in the keto space, like rub elbows with these people. So yes, I know all about them. Thank you. RT Varnell, there would have to be lots of school times. Only about 10 kids per class would allow for the space. Yeah, I don't think they're thinking this through, that's for sure. So Carrie says, my list from the CDC is not accurate because the word guidelines is misspelled. And that's fine. What I'm saying is they collated a lot of the information that was on the CDC website. So don't be so pedantic about this not being from the CDC because they misspelled a word. I think there's been some people trying to outline what they put on their website. You can definitely go to cdc.gov and see exactly what they're saying. So thank you for that, but I don't think it takes away from the point that I was saying. Stephanie says children have died from COVID-19. That's true, but we're talking about a very minuscule percentage of the total number of deaths. The vast majority of the deaths are people over the age of 60, and that's true. Again, go look up the death statistics on cdc.gov. Heiser Hines says, I used the egg fast. If I ever get kicked out of ketosis, it works great. And again, people ask me, would you still recommend the egg fast? And I'm like, well, just eat keto or just eat carnivore. If you want to just eat bacon for a month, you want to just have ribeye steak, I think there's other ways to do it, but eggs was the way that got me started. Keto Court, what do you think about exogenous ketones? Where do I go with this one? So if you're trying to take exogenous ketones to be in ketosis, don't. That's not their purpose. I think exogenous ketones have a role, but the role is much more minimized than what it's been made out to be. Some of the marketing by these companies that promote exogenous ketones say, take our product and you'll be in ketosis in 59 minutes or less, and you'll lose weight and you'll get healthy and get all the benefits of ketosis while you still eat lots of carbs. Yeah, bite me, because that's sucky advice. If you're someone who needs an elevated amount of ketones because you're fighting some kind of a chronic disease like Alzheimer's, maybe cancer, maybe some of these other brain health types of issues especially, then I think targeted for those people, exogenous ketones are okay. But the general population that's generally healthy and just wants to, quote, lose weight, you don't need exogenous ketones. You can make all the ketones you need endogenously without taking any in the form of an expensive urine, basically. Margie says, we already know what the results of the study will be, but nice to show everyone else. Well, that's true. But yes, we need to show it verifiably in studies. And see, here's the thing. Dr. Atkins in the early 70s, he was so hard-nosed that keeping carbs low and eating unlimited fat and protein to satiety was the way to go. And he just knew it and knew it. And I remember when Dr. Eric Westman approached him in the late 90s, after several of Dr. Westman's patients came to him and said, hey, I'm losing weight reading a diet book. He contacted Dr. Atkins and he said, well, where's the evidence for your approach? I don't see any of it in the medical journals. He's like, I don't need no evidence. I got patients that get better. That's all the evidence I need. And of course, Eric, being a researcher, was like, well, you kind of need evidence in order to prove the veracity in the scientific world. And Dr. Atkins did not understand at first. But then after some coaxing and convincing, Eric said, well, give me some money and I'll conduct the first kind of real look at an Atkins approach and show you what the meaning of having that research is. So Dr. Westman put out in like 1999, the very first like really big Atkins diet study. And it made a huge splash in the research world. It probably kicked off what would become the second wave of Atkins in the early 2000s. I came around 2004 was when I lost my weight, which was a year after Dr. Atkins died after the slip and fall accident on ice. And then 2005, I started blogging. 2006, I started podcasting. And all through that time, Eric was one of the champions of writing papers. He's written well over 150 different papers all about the effects of ketosis on your health. But Dr. Atkins, he did not think there needed to be any studies. Go, well, we just know it. And he didn't realize that's not how the research world works. All right, thank you, Instagram. We're gonna pop on over now to my Facebook page. I've seen a lot of questions coming in over here. And if we have time, we'll come over to you guys here on my YouTube channel with YouTube Live. Thank you for being here. What's up, you guys? Come on in. Ask me anything. Fire away. What are your goals for the next 5 years, both health and professional? Ooh, Dustin, good question. Next 5 years. I want to continue, as far as health, continue to pay close attention to all my cardiovascular risk markers. I have a very strong history of heart disease in my family. Usually around my age, almost every male in my family has had something happen to their heart. I talked about my brother Kevin dying at the age of 41. And my dad had a heart attack 48, 50, and quintuple heart bypass at 54. Both my grandfathers on both sides of my family died in their early 50s. My aunt also had a heart attack last year. So I've got some pretty strong genetics that say I should be concerned about my cardiovascular health. Of course, you and I both know it's not just about genetics, it's about the epigenetics and the lifestyle things that you do, like diet, like exercise, like good sleep, and all the things that I do. So I'm just going to be mindful of those things. I'm 48 years old now, and so when you turn the big 50, it's going to just kind of, I want to continue those things. I would like to ramp up even more my fitness efforts. I've been very inspired watching Dr. Sean Baker, who is now 53 years old, and dude has leaned out and he's got so much muscle. And of course, he's kind of been an athlete a lot of his life. I have not been an athlete. I played in the band in high school, and I've never been a real athlete. So I'm not one of those that like bulks up with muscle, but I do want to be lean. I do want to be strong, and stretch and have all of that flexibility as I continue to get older. I'm far from over when it comes to my health. And I know if I do these health things that my weight should follow where it's supposed to be. But I'm more interested in keeping inflammation down and keeping all of the relevant markers, fasting insulin down, all of these things that I talk about so often here on Jimmy Rants. As far as professionally, I'm doing what I love. You know, they say if you find what you're meant to do, you'll never feel like you work a day in your life. And I work hard, but I don't feel like I work when I do my work. I love coming on this show, doing Jimmy Rants. I love podcasting and talking to people. I really have done this for so long, I don't have to prepare notes when I interview people. I just have conversations. And so from a professional standpoint, I want to keep putting out content like this. I want to keep writing books. I want to keep doing all the things, speaking, going around the world, doing all those things, because I think we need now more than ever. If COVID-19 has shown a bright light on anything, is we need the message I've been talking about for 15 years now more than ever before. And I think this has woken a lot of people up to, oh my gosh, I got to get my house in order. So I've got some pretty good job security for many years to come. But thank you for those questions. Tracy said, we're now raising 2 pigs for the butcher. We're so tired of the meat shortages. Yeah. Norma says, I just got 10 9-ounce ribeyes, going to enjoy my real meat with 1 meal a day. That's awesome. It's so liberating not to worry about macros, says Tracy, not measuring and weighing. I love it. Excellent. Rebecca says, I'm just now to the point where I can recognize my satiety, and I've been doing this for years. Yeah, that's a tricky one because, and thank you for that. People don't always recognize it because they haven't always been able to feel it. Sometimes when we first start on keto, you have to kind of like weigh, okay, am I really hungry or is my head just telling me I'm hungry? Okay, if my head's telling me I'm hungry, I need to just resist the urge. And so you kind of play this battle between here and what's physiologically actually happening in your body. So, and sometimes those keto foods that we eat can be stoking that desire and want for things that could be causing some of that hunger. So it is a process. So thank you for reminding us of that. And it can be tricky to figure that out, but it sounds like you have. Kira says, I used perfect keto exogenous ketones only when I had the keto flu symptoms to make me feel better and not to erase my bad food choices. Yes, and that's an effective use of exogenous ketones. And I think for people who have never fasted longer before, especially in that day 1, 2, 3, where it's the worst, maybe exogenous ketones help you get through that bad part of the fast so that you can make it for the rest of the fast. By day 3, 4 of a fast, your ketones have ramped up so high that you no longer need to take them exogenously. So that would be another way that EKs could be effective at helping you in your diet. Dustin says, more to the cardiovascular health and keeping track of that. Do you know about your CAC score? see if it changes as you continue. Oh, I've been doing that. So CAC is basically the heart calcium score. You're looking for actual calcified plaque in the arteries. And I wrote about this in my book, Cholesterol Clarity. Go pick up a copy of that one if you haven't read it. But yes, I'm a big fan of getting CT heart scans. You don't want to get it too often because you do get exposure to radiation and people are worried about that. But I've had 2 of them over the past decade. And in both of them over the past decade, I had a big fat 0. Even though I eat probably 70 to 75% fat in my diet, I have no calcified plaque in my arteries. So yeah, very well aware of a CAC. So definitely get that checked out if you've never done that. Courtney says, what do you do for your ongoing mental health work with the childhood trauma related to your overall health? It feels like the longest road sometimes. Courtney, it is a long road, and thank you for asking that question. I've kind of put some of the childhood trauma stuff on the back burner because of COVID-19, and but thank you. Yeah, it's a day-by-day process. You don't just get over it, as you said, and it's something that it happened many years ago, and people tell you, oh, it happened so long ago, why can't you let it go? And you don't understand how that mentalness, especially when you hear a narrative in your head over and over and over again, and when you have that on replay, and I've got one of those brains that I've got like a little movie reel inside my head. And so I can still see my head getting bashed into walls. I can still see physically the abuse that took place. So that's hard for people like me. I wish I could forget that. But I also am thankful that I'm reminded of it because it reminds me of how far I've come and how much I've overcome. And so you kind of like change the narrative about it that, oh yes, it was a bad thing in my life and it was a horrible time in my life because of those things. But then you realize, holy crap, I went through all that and it could have broken me. And it didn't. What it did, it made me stronger. And it made me a better man. And it made me the guy that you like to watch on Jimmy Rants now. Would I be the same guy had I not had my head smashed into walls? I don't know. But I want to think, and the way to answer your question, the way I deal with some of the mental health effects that then are affecting me and my overall health, I have to come to terms with that happened. I can't change what did happen, but what I can do is be grateful for what's happened since that happened. And that's helped me keep my mind in a really good place so I don't fall back into deep, dark pits and go, oh no, woe is me, what happened in my life? And you know, there's some people, they take events like that and they literally, their whole lives revolve around what did happen. Not's happening now, not what's going to happen in the future, but what did happen, which then affects their now and affects their future. And I be danged. I be danged. At this point in my life, I want to be a champion for showing you how you overcome something really horrible like that. And I know my trauma was my trauma, and people had it much worse. Other people had it much less. But trauma is trauma is trauma. If you went through it, it sucked. No matter how serious it was or how less serious it was, if you were traumatized, you got to deal with that, and you've got to frame it in your head as to what it means to you now. And for me, I'm grateful. That's a hard place to be when you say you're grateful for your trauma. But I always look at it from the perspective of, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for the trauma. But thank you for that question. All right, let's pop over here now. Thank you, Facebook Live, over to my YouTube channel. Lots of stuff came in here. Whoa, look at all them comments. Let's see. I'm really considering homeschooling, says Shirley, because of the recommendations from the CDC. It sounds like a prison. I don't need that for my kids. Yeah, you're not alone. I was homeschooled my whole childhood and loved it, says Shirley. But I'll miss my free time. Yeah, that is part of the thing. How do we respectfully put anti-meat people in their place? I don't think you try to argue with them. If it's all about they care about the animals, you're not going to change their mind. But if it's about health and health alone, then maybe you educate them on why cutting meat is not a good idea. Talk about essential fatty acids, amino acids. Talk about getting nutrients from the foods that you eat, and that they're the top most nutrient dense foods in the world are all animal based foods. I think you just bring them facts. That's the way you do it. Kim says, thanks for telling us how to opt out of the tracing on the iPhone. You're welcome. Shirley says, I'm ready to do that fast with you. I started a new weightlifting program, so I don't know if it would be smart to go that long, but I'm going to feel it out as I go. Hey, I don't think you have to necessarily back off. You might have to back off on the intensity of the lifting, but I don't think you have to totally back off from doing weightlifting just because you're going to be fasting. I know Dr. Fung talks about not changing your routine. I find though I do back off on my exercise only because I find I get dizzy if I push too hard, and I can't go to the gym and not push hard. Dopey Denzel says, my friend's blood sugar went down to 30. Please tell him how serious it is. Well, a 30 blood sugar, yes, by every measure is incredibly low. But what's the context of that 30? Was the 30 in a ketogenic state? Was the 30 in a fasted state? Was the 30 because they had hypoglycemia and took maybe too much insulin that brought it down to 30? Most people that get to a 30 tend to feel that. And if you feel the effects of blood sugar, then yes, it's a bad thing. But what if it's 30 and they don't feel the effects? I remember listening to Dr. Jeff Volek one time, and he said that they did an experiment, not his lab, but he read a paper where they did an experiment where they purposely fasted patients for many days to bring their blood sugar down, and then they shot them with some insulin. They wanted to see what would happen. And of course, predictably, the blood sugar went down to 19. Now, by all accounts, a 19 blood sugar is, oh my God, these people need to get their blood sugar up as soon as possible or they're going to be in trouble. But what happened was they were in a very deep state of ketosis because of the fasting, and they were able to feel completely cogent, completely fine, even with that 19 blood sugar. So the context of what that blood sugar is matters. So just telling me a blood sugar, somebody can feel hypoglycemia at a 95, and someone else could be a 45 and not have any hypoglycemia and be just fine. So context in this conversation will always matter. Are you seeing weight loss results now that you've been dealing with the trauma, says Daisy. Thank you for that. Well, you've got a confounding variable called COVID-19. So COVID-19 came along, and I know I've been feeling the effects of the stress of it. I have been taking a peek at my weight because I did not want it to go crazy during this time, and I knew with stress it probably would. I have pretty much stayed stable, and I think right now in the midst of COVID-19, if you're not gaining weight, you're losing weight because most people are gaining. And I don't think you need to beat yourself up if you're not losing weight. So to answer your question directly, no, I'm not losing weight, but I'm maintaining, which I think is a win right now. When all the hullabaloo of what's happening right now starts to die down, okay, then we'll kind of get serious about seeing what we can do to relax some of that stress that might be keeping the blood sugar up. Are you going to start talking again, Miss Skunky? Is that what you're doing? Can you hush? I'm doing a live show on Jimmy Rants. My cat always likes to make noises like towards the end of my show. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for that. Is it okay to do a 36-hour fast once a week, or is that too much? No, once a week. 36 hours once a week? You can do 36 hours 3 times a week if you want to. That's great. A lot of people do this thing called 1 meal a day, which is 24 hours. There's other people that do alternate day fasting, which ends up being about a 36 to 42 hour fast, and they do alternate day fasting. That would be 3 of those a week. So no, once a week is not too much. I'd say it's probably not enough. All right. I thought I saw one more. Stable is definitely a win through this time right now. I'm in the same place as Daisy. Yes. Yeah. Be kind to yourself right now. Don't beat yourself up. Skunks Live begins at 11:50 a.m. Skunky Rants. Let's see. I need to come up with something. Skunky Stinks. Yeah. Skunky Stinks. Yeah. I'm not encouraging her on that. All right. Let's come back over here to my Instagram page. Thank you, YouTube Live, for all those great questions. You guys having fun? Miss Twiggy, without getting into any specifics, and I understand if it's too sensitive, how are you managing financially as a self-employed person in the wake of the pandemic and the resulting economic slowdown? That's a great ask me anything question, Miss Twiggy. Never be ashamed or afraid to ask me things like that. I gotta tell you, when all this went down, see, keep in mind context. I was gone for 6 months, from September through the end of February, and came back March the 1st. My intention being away was, okay, I don't have any money coming in. I think I can make it, and I will run out of money by the time I get back, and I can start earning money again. So March the 1st, my plan was hit the ground running, go and find some sponsors, and that would continue the income. Of course, 10 days later, all you know what broke loose with this going down, and every single sponsor that I was supposed to get all said, well, we don't know what's going on, we can't spend right now. So it all dried up. What really hurt was I had one sponsor that owed me $11,000, and they went bankrupt. So that was money I was expecting to be there that would have helped me. But when you lose $11,000 that you were expecting to have, it kind of hampers your style a little bit. So I got down in my bank account to about $500 left. I was literally living off for everything. I was living off of my backyard chicken eggs, and I ate those probably 3.5 weeks. So I had a unplanned egg fast, whether I wanted to do it or not. But I survived. Thankfully, my book royalties came in shortly thereafter in about mid-April, and it was enough to kind of keep me steady for now. I will be running out of money again unless some of these sponsors start to come back. I've had a few sponsors start to inquire, and I'm working on those deals now. But yeah, it put a real strain on there. And I wasn't scared because I knew at the very least I've got 20 backyard chickens. From a food perspective, I could eat. So I knew I would have food. The bills that were coming due, 500 was not going to cut it. Like 500 barely paid like one bill. So, and I had, probably bills that totaled, 12,000 between my business and my personal, maybe $12,000. And so it got a little bit hairy there for a bit. But yeah, I'm doing much better. I did set up a Patreon because people, how can we help you? You're giving us great content here on Jimmy Rants, blah, blah, blah. So I do have a Patreon link if you want to go support over at jimmyrants.com. I don't push it a lot because I think that's ticky-tack, but people do care, and they do care about me, and they want to help any way that they can. I realize there's people out of work, 39 million people that are unemployed right now, at least on the books unemployed. That doesn't count all the people that stopped looking for work. So I'm not complaining. I'm a very blessed man, but thank you for asking about that. I'm not there yet doing 48-hour fast, says Dolly Mommy. I do good just to wait till supper to eat. Yeah, and that's okay. If that's what you can do, then that's what you do. Marnie says our mayor in Toronto was asked by a reporter if he gained weight since the pandemic. He says he's lost 25 pounds due to low carb. Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. Marley wants to know, if you had a time machine, would you use it? Well, where would I want to go back? Like, I am one of those people that lives my life without regret. I think it's the people that live their life with regret that are never truly happy. The happiest people in the world, I think, are the people that realize, okay, here's the hand you've been dealt in your life. And if you're able to live your entire life and learn from the lessons of what happens to you, I think you find more happiness and enjoyment in it. Now, I think that's not what you were asking about, but I just want to get that philosophy out there, that I am grateful for everything that's happened, even the abuse when I was a kid and some of the challenges that have happened in my life. I'm blessed and I'm glad those things happened. But I will learn lessons from all of those things that make me better today. Okay, but time machine. When in history would I want to go back to? I would love to go back to the Kennedy assassination. I want to be near the grassy knoll in Dallas, Texas. I want to be there. There's just so many like historical events I'm thinking about. I want to go back to Marty McFly. I'm just kidding. Marty McFly, Back to the Future. Is it a DeLorean? Will my time machine be a DeLorean? Do I have to get to, what was it, 160 miles an hour? So, sorry, that was a good question though. Thank you. If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say? Marley, I have the world's attention at the world is my oyster right here on Jimmy Rants. Ladies and gentlemen of the world, hear ye, lend me your ears. I have something profound to tell you that could change the course of your life forever. Eat real food. Stop eating crap. Live your life. Thank you. How's that? Did I get their attention? Thank you, Instagram. That was fun. I'm running out of time, so let me see if there's any more that have come in on the other formats. If I had a time machine, I'd go back, Dustin said, and see all the great shows I've wanted to see. Woodstock, Doors, At the Whiskey, so many great things. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things I would go back to in history. I would love to walk where famous people in the past walked. But again, I live in the present and enjoy where I am in my life. So Dustin said maybe buy some Bitcoin if I knew how big it was going to be. That's funny. What did you learn during your sabbatical that you want to share, says Craig. So Craig, if you'll go back and listen to the first episode when I came back from the sabbatical, it was on March the 1st. It should be right here on my YouTube channel. Go back. I did a whole episode about all the things that I learned during the sabbatical. I don't want to repeat that. Plus, I only have a minute left here. So go back and watch that video. I did share about it there. Do you think keto helps with COVID-19? Yeah, that's a tricky question, Scott. Thank you for that question. I think being in a good metabolic state and lowering inflammation will help if you were to get COVID-19. But the people that I've talked to, even if you're the healthiest of healthy, you could be susceptible to it. They're still trying to figure out what the mechanism is, but it does look like having good metabolic health does put you in a good state. So thank you for that. All right. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here for this Ask Me Anything. So go check out all the past episodes, jimmyrants.com, but come follow me here on Instagram at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Watch the replay on IGTV. You can also watch all the past episodes over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Thank you guys for being here. This was a fun Ask Me Anything here today on Jimmy Rants. And until next time, we'll see you then. All right, we are out. That was a fun show. So good questions today. I love it when I come on here. Sometimes I come on here and I get like no questions. I'm like, guys, come on. I can talk, but give me something to talk about. And then other times I come on here and it's just like so many questions that are just so good. Today was definitely one of those days. So thank you guys for your participation in this today as well. It's good stuff. So let me pop off of here for now. Always a pleasure to be with you. So thanks for being here, Facebook. We'll see you again soon. Bye. Bye, YouTube.